Hey friends, it's your pal Mike Shea from Sly Flourish, here with another episode of Sly Flourish's Lazy GM Prep. In this show, I go through steps from Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master while preparing for my Sunday role-playing game. In this case, I am running the game Shadowdark RPG by Arcane Library. I am also running a campaign in Cursed Scroll 1, also available from Arcane Library, in a setting known as the Gloaming. This show, like all of the work of Sly Flourish, is brought to you by the patrons of Sly Flourish. Patrons get access to the awesome Lazy DM community over on Discord, the Patreon Q&A, where you can ask me questions about role-playing games and I answer them every week. Bunch of tips and tricks and tools and products to help you run your games, and they help me put on shows like this. To the patrons of Sly Flourish, thank you so much for your outstanding support. So last week, our campaign has moved underground into the lower depths, down the Vile Well, into a region called the Shimmering Valley. The Shimmering Valley is a huge underground cleft, like a huge canyon underground with a narrow walkway that winds completely in the dark. It's very shadow and very dark, very shadowy dark down there. And the characters saw some glimmer of light in the distance, and they went in that direction. And I had, if you recall, last week, while they were making their way along this narrow path heading to a village known as Nighthaven, they ran into a bunch of dead Duergar who had been killed by their own shadows, truly Shadowdark. And it was funny because one of the players posted an image, a very famous image of a bunch of dead skeletons all surrounding a gem. And they said, like, so who's going to grab the gem? And it was kind of this meme joke that was sent around among the group. And I'm like, I'm going to do that. Like, you know, sure, why not? So I had a bunch of dead Duergar, and it was really kind of like fun and creepy where the torchlight showed the boots, and then they're like, oh, we see the boots. And then they got closer and they saw that it was a Duergar, and then they got closer and realized, oh my God, it's a bunch of dead Duergar. And then they saw that one of them has like a hand out with like a finger pointing at a gem that's sitting there in the center, and they all laughed because they're like, that's like the meme we sent around. I'm like, what are you going to do? Like, oh my God, what are we going to do? And it was funny because they're all like, one player was like, oh, I'd totally grab it. And they're like, are you going to totally grab it? Like you said, like, there it is. He's like, oh, I don't know if I want to grab it. And so they handled that for a while. Then it turned out the gem was just a gem. Like it had some weird magical swirly thing in it. The gemstone was just a gem. There was an idol to one of the lost, one of the two gods of the lost. And this one I kind of made as like a fallen celestial, and with like clipped wings and a bloody halo and a great sword in one hand and a skull in the other. And so, you know, they spent a fair bit of time figuring out what the issue was with the Statue of the Lost. And that Statue of the Lost, which was like you know, hewn downwards, and like a weird black liquid was coming out, and the black liquid was like causing the shadows of the people that would go nearby to try to kill them. So they fought their own shadows. That was really hard. A lot of their strength got drained from these shadows, and they were really beat up. And then they made their way to the village of Nighthaven. Nighthaven is a village of a bunch of different species who prefer to live underground. A peaceful village, though everybody knows how to fire a bow, because they're always worried about aerial attackers. They said like it's defended very well from ground attack. There's only like one narrow pathway you can take to get up to the front gates. We have lots of guards at the front gates, but flying things are a problem. So everybody is taught from the day of yore to shoot a bow, and including a goblin scout troop that exists in that area, which is a rival goblin scout troop to one of the characters, Lauren. Lauren runs a Goblin Scout troop, and there's Troop 36 is here, run by Mizzo, who is Lauren's rival. And so they were like when he met Mizzo, and he's like, oh, you know, you were terrible. Like, you got kicked out. And he's like, I didn't get kicked out. I left, right? And they had all this like back and forth, and then they went through it, and then eventually Lauren said, hey, Mizzo, I just want to tell you, you are the better Goblin Scout leader. And like he turned around and you know, and he's like, yeah, you know, you're just saying, he's like, nope. And they had a whole thing. Now, I have the unfortunate circumstance of having, I think, 3 players who are all Eagle Scouts. So, and I am not. I have never been in the Boy Scouts. And so they were like, you know, show us your cleaning tub. And the guy's like, it's right over there. And they're like, oh, and all 3 of them are looking at each other. I'm like, what? They're like, they don't have the 3 tubs. And I'm like, what the hell is the 3 tubs? And they're like, you know, you have the one for the rinsing, the one for the cleaning, and the one for the, you know, the sanitizing. And I was like, and then, so then he goes, of course we have 3 tubs. And he points and there's 2 other tubs. Like, oh, he does have the 3 tubs. He goes, we have 4 tubs. Like, what's the other one for? He goes, So there was some fun kind of goblin scout troop stuff that went on. And when they went into it, then one of my players who knows me very well said, "Where's the fantastic feature of this town? Like, what, where is it?" And I'm like, "There's a huge like rock skull piercing out of the center of the ground with its mouth agape." And they say, "Oh, don't go down in there. That's the vault of Memnon down there." And they're like, we knew there was a fantastic feature to this town, the vault of Memnon. Excellent. And so, and they said, yeah, that, and then one of them is carrying the skull of Memnon, which is an artifact that they picked up from the hag that they had killed very early on in the campaign, who was carrying the skull of Memnon. So then I said, like, oh yeah, no, she was here and she went down there. She's the only person we know that ever went down there and never came back out again. And she came back with that skull, right? And so now the skull is like, hey, they gained a quest, and I really just sort of gamified it and said, you have received a new quest, and that quest is replace the skull of Memnon and you will get 10 experience points. And immediately the player's like, oh, we're doing that. And it's like, yeah. Last watch and rescuing Haldren and stopping the planet from getting destroyed. That's all fine. But we have a quest to go down into this hole and replace this skull, and we get 10 experience points for it. So defining their quest for them immediately drew them to it, and they said that that's where they're headed. So that's what we're going to prep today, because I don't know what the hell the Vault of Memnon is. I have no idea. So that was kind of funny. One of the other players also like put on a big poster board that said, by the way, like the world is going to get eaten, prepare yourselves. And everyone's like, why are you telling everybody that they're all going to die? And she's like, in order to make sure that they understand that they're living their life. And I don't know what that is going to do to the town. I feel like the realistic thing is that people would start to go a little bananas, and that some of the structure of the town would go. But then other ones, but I don't like that. I don't like that that's the output. And so I don't know that it's not fun for me, and I don't know how fun it would be for the players to say, oh no, that's what it's going to do. So I think that might be a rallying cry for the town to rally for the characters and say, what can we do? Like, how can we stop this? We don't want to just live our last days. We want to do something. And we've been a strong town down here, in the Shimmering Valley for a long time. What do you want us to do? And they might even mobilize like a small group to go with the characters to go attack Last Watch. So that could be an option too. But they might be even willing to, do other things. Like what other things do you need us to do? Do you need us to go secure Haldren's tower? Right? I don't know. So yeah, so there's that big question of like, what do they do with it? So where we're starting today is in the village of Nighthaven as the characters are getting ready to head into the Vault of Memnon. So we are going to start a new session today, generate a new session planning template. I am using Notion to do my campaign planning today, as I have done for this whole campaign. You can find links in the show notes for how to use Notion for your campaign planning. I've got my game is 9 June 2024. I have my characters. So Morrigan is out. So I think the weird bat-like form of her mother is going to fly by and grab her and pull her off into the darkness. Irina, the elf warlock of Almazad, is there. Uralt, former Knight of St. Yidris, is there. Lauren, the goblin scout leader, is there. Dazder is going to be returning. So the player who plays Dazder has not been there for some time. Dazder is going to come back, who is the human witch frog shaman. And we have Calum, the elf wizard. So we have a wizard, witch, scout, or Lauren, I think is cleric? I think is a cleric. Goblin cleric, scout leader. I think that's right. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I don't even know what class he is. I don't pay attention. So what's the strong start? So I think the strong start today is the rallying of Nighthaven. The Elder, and I need to find out who that is. I wrote it down in my notes from last week. I'll go back to that. I think of my NPCs. We have Rokara, the Goblin Elder of Nighthaven, comes to the characters and says that they want to fight the good fight to prevent from devouring the world. They're not done fighting yet. What can they do? So I think that is a good, strong start. And so scene-wise, and I don't know what their answer is going to be. So what do they have, like, resource-wise? Well, they have, like, 30 scouts, probably. Do they have as many as 30? Yeah, probably 30 scouts, 30 capable scouts. I think like 30 capable scouts. They have. I don't know that they met the witch who's down here, but I don't know that she's going to be like on their side too. They wanted to go buy stuff from them. So scenes, we have the rallying of Nighthaven. I think the idea that they get together and they go like, look, we are not going to just go quietly into the night, and we're not going to just scream and run and start robbing everybody because we think the end is nigh. And we're not going to just go learn how to yarn or go learn how to knit because we always want to learn how to knit before the end of the world. We want to do something to stop this. What should we do? And I think leaving that as an open question for the characters could be kind of interesting. So that is fun. Secrets and clues. What we'll do is grab our secrets and clues from last week, and we're going to throw these in here. Now, I need a fair bit of secrets and clues about the Vault of Memnon, which I don't have. So we know a lot of this. Troop 36 of Lauren's Goblin Scouts are Nighthaven, yep. Lauren's rival Mizzo runs Troop 36, yep. 2 lost deities whispered out, yep. One of the lost is Marinal, the twin brother of Saint Taragnus. Oh yeah, so one of the players also learned the name. They placed their hand upon the statue of the lost, one of the 2 gods of the lost, and learned the name of the lost. And the name was and Marinal. And then they said, like, they spoke it once to the witch, and the witch said, never say that name again. And then they all said, what name? Mirinal? And they started all like, oh yeah, Mirinal, right? And they all said it. And then I told the players, like, you remember that time when we jumped 14 months in the future? Like, I think you just had an event like that. Like, I think they woke up an elder dead god, another one named Mirinal, who is like this angelic being. So I think, I think a secret could be that Mirinal has awoken. Mirinal, a former lost god, has awoken and come to the Gloaming. So what does that mean, and where are they? I don't know. I'm not sure what that means yet, but I think that they're awake. Does let's see, if we go to Shadowdark and we go to like our table of contents here and we go to monsters, let's look at some angels here. They have an archangel. That's probably appropriate. They are level 16, +3 plate mail, radiant being with a crown of fire, snowy wings, golden armor, and a blazing greatsword. Only they are a dark. Hostile spells targeting the angel are extreme. DC 18 to cast. Woo! Command. DC 18 charisma to resist an archangel's command. Woo! Makes 3 flaming greatsword attacks, 2d12. So the Archangel is on 195. Mirinal, and I will put paren. Former god is awoken and come to the Gloaming. So let's see. We know that Haldren came here. We know that the narrow path leads to the Shimmering Valley, leads to Last Watch, lair of Ramlot. Followers of Ramlot worship at an altar to the demon god which holds it. Now, Olgar, we're going to keep. Spies of St. Yidris. We do know that Spies of St. Yidris warned the followers of Ramlot that Haldren was coming. Creatures who prefer the dark are interested in power. Yes, we got that. Nighthaven's Geopoop makes it easy to defend. They did learn that. Founded by a goblin named Mort Firebolt. I think we're going to keep that one because I'm going to want to remember the name Mort Firebolt. Shimmering Valley is said to be a wound deep in the earth hewn by Ramlot's axe. Yeah, I don't think they learned that. At the narrow passage of Last West, nasty harpies will try to throw you in the rift. They did learn that, but I'm going to keep that in there because I want to remember. So before this, though, we need some... What we really need to focus on today is the fact that they are headed into the Vault of Memnon. So what is the Vault of Memnon? First of all, who's Memnon? Oh, so this is good. Memnon's discordant blade. Barbed greatswords, red blade trails a shower of sparks. +1 greatsword can only be wielded by a chaotic being. If you are wielding Memnon's entropic armor and Memnon's blazing javelin, it becomes a +3 greatsword. So this is kind of a cool... Once per day, you can utterly annihilate one creature level 9 or less that you damage with this blade. The creature can pass a DC 18 Constitution check to take 3d8 damage instead. That's pretty sweet. You cannot relinquish ownership of this blade unless it is taken from you by a creature that defeats you in combat. For each day that you do not slay a level 2 or greater creature with this sword, you lose 1d6 hit points. These can only be restored when you kill a level 2 or greater creature with a sword. Ooh. Blazing Javelin. Memnon's Blazing Javelin. Can only be wielded by chaotic being. You also must wield Memnon's discordant. If you wield, it becomes +3. Always returns to your hand after being thrown once per day. When you throw this javelin, you can turn it into lightning as per the lightning bolt spell. That's pretty cool. And then Memnon's entropic armor. Deep blue plate mail traced with golden lightning motifs and red gems arrayed in the shape of flames. +1 plate mail, you can only be worn by a chaotic being. If you also wield Memnon's discovery, so that's 3. Once per day, you can speak the armor's command word. Until your next turn, all non-magical weapons that strike you are instantly unmade, shattering into dust. You take no damage from them. That's pretty cool. So I think, so Memnon, let's figure out who Memnon is. So that's cool, right? We have Memnon's weaponry. So I think I don't think all 3 items will be in the vault. I think that it would be interesting if the avatar of Ramlot wielded Memnon's discordant blade. And the armor, the armor or the javelin? I think the javelin would be really cool to be placed in here. I think the armor might have been taken by Drusilla, the witch, and maybe it resides back in her vault. It would be kind of fun to whip up, like they have to return back to her vault, and there is a secret symbol that they saw on the wall there, and if they go and they open up that symbol, the armor is there. That might be kind of fun. So that way there's like 3 places that they can go along their journey to get the other 3 items of Memnon. And then somebody can wield those 3. Now, one problem we have is they now have 2 really good magic swords in the party already. They have Prophecy, which is I think it's a +3 longsword that gives them extra luck points. They have the Emerald Blade, which is Titania's blade from the Green Knights. And that's a powerful blade. I don't think it really does anything, super neat. And then they have, these pieces. It may not work for them because they require somebody to be chaotic to wear them. It might not work. It might not be that neat. The question is like, which one? God, they love that plate mail because then they have an armor class like 21 or some nonsense. But I like the idea that Memnon's discordant blade is being wielded by somebody else. So let's see. The Vault of Memnon used to hold the 3 artifacts of Memnon. The discordant blade, the javelin, are they just called like Memnon's javelin? The blazing javelin, the discordant blade, and the entropic armor. I can't spell javelin. 2 of the 3 have been absconded. Have been stolen. Never use a fancy word when you can use a simple word. So I think that, let's see. So one thought I had is what if Drusilla isn't dead and Drusilla is still in this vault, and after they killed her beneath, she is now like a hag scorpion or a hag basilisk, right? Like that might be kind of fun. Do we have a Medusa? What kind of Medusa do we have here in Shadowdark? Let's look at the Medusa. I don't know if they have like Elder Medusa. They're 8, so that's pretty strong. Hostile spells targeting the Medusa are DC 15. They can petrify any creature looking at Medusa who looks directly at the Medusa must make a DC 15 con or be petrified. They can make a snake bite attack. What if Drusilla, I think Drusilla cursed herself to acquire the skull of Memnon and is now a prisoner in Memnon's vault. She has turned into a Medusa. And we're going to go right from Clash of the Titans style, I think. And she has a couple of... Do we have death dogs here? Are they like under creatures? Let's see. I don't see a death dog. I want like a 2-headed dog. We have dire wolves and wargs. Dire wolf is 4. I could always use that. And it does 2 bite attacks. So we could just reskin a dire wolf into a death dog. That would be pretty easy. I could turn them into winter wolves, only reskin them with fire breath, near-sized cube, brutal. That would be... So I think she might have 2 death dogs. And the death dogs are, let's see. We are going to put those are on page 264. So she and her death dogs cursed by Memnon. Medusa. What page is the Medusa on? Medusa is on page 232. Now, prisoner in Memnon's vault. She has turned into a Medusa and is accompanied by 2 death dogs. So what are there other, okay, so who made this vault? So this vault is something that sits between, well, let's look at Memnon. I want to actually get some Memnon lore in here. So let's go to the gods. Memnon was the first manifestation of chaos. He is Madeira's twin, a red-maned leonine whose ultimate ambition is to rend the cosmic laws of the Covenant from his sister's skin. Woo! That's some lore. Madeira was the first manifestation of law. She carries every law of reality, a dictate called the Covenant, written on her skin in precise symbols. These are some juicy secrets. I like these. We're going to put these in. All right, this is some fun lore that we can put into our Madeira sister of Memnon. And then we'll grab the other Memnon one, a leonine. What is a leonine? That sounds like a lion person. Sounds like that crazy donkey riding boss in Elden Ring. Come on, Elden Ring fans. Remind me who that is. He wants to rend the cosmic laws of the Covenant from his sister's skin. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if a piece of the skin with the laws hewn was displayed? I'm going to Google leonine. Yeah, a lion person. So there could be, who would be protecting this place? I think like lion-shaped stone guardians displaying skin, not cool. I think it's pretty cool. Like a piece of the hewn skin of a god is, on one of the pillars. I think it would be a crazy artifact. And the laws no longer work. Like there are laws that aren't in place anymore, like laws of the world that aren't in place anymore. So I think that, skin display of Madeira is one of the fantastic locations. What other secrets do we need? So that's all pretty cool. Is there any, I guess, like let's actually start building out the dungeon and we'll figure out some of the other things. So I'm going to go to, I need a map. So we are going to go to my Dyson map thing. So this is a tool available to patrons of Sly Flourish where you can get thumbnails of all of Dyson's commercially available maps in a easily sortable and fixable display in order to choose maps that work well. And this one, I was like, oh, that map's perfect, except I literally use that map in this very game. But that's a perfect one. That's a perfect example. This guy right here is a great map, but I've already used it. So I need something that looks like it would be good for the Vaults of Memnon. I would like it to take, this one's kind of cool. Look at this guy. Like it's a big skull from up above. I don't even know what these are. Are they all separate chambers? I don't think these are connected. I think these are all separate vaults. So I don't think that will really work, but I like that there's like a giant skull one. So they can be work stone. They can also be natural caves. This is probably too much. That's a multi-level adventure. I don't want to do that. So what am I looking for? 12 to 14 rooms. Here's one this one doesn't look bad. It's a little too neat, but it could work. There's, got to have some good secret paths and secret passageways. I think the entry area would be right down in that center area, and then they could explore this place. They could find the secret passages. I kind of dig it. So we're going to go with my rule of thumb, which is the first you find, here's a you ready for your DM tip of the day, his Sly Flourish Lazy DM tip of the day. Find the first map that fits what you want to do and go with that. You don't need to keep going and say, I need to find the perfect map. You're going to make it perfect. You're going to make it work. So the first map that works, grab that. The other one, another tip that I thought of, I was thinking about before I even began this, was that before you've defined the location too much, go look for a map first. So all I know about the Vault of Memnon is what you just saw. Like I didn't know anything else about it. And I haven't defined any chambers. I haven't defined rooms. I haven't thought about layout at all. I didn't have any idea what the place actually looks like yet. And then I let the map guide me to determine what it looks like rather than me trying to build out a place in my head first and then find a map that fits. It's far easier to not have an idea about what you need than it is to have an idea what you need and then go get it. So, I mean, you need an idea, but don't have more than an idea. Don't have like all of the individual chambers and stuff. Other than like, this one's great because it could be work stone. It could be natural stone. I know that it's not a huge map. I know that it's not too small, so I don't really need much. So this actually works fine. So I'm going to save this image to my desktop. And where'd it go? It didn't save. How come it didn't save? Where'd it go? I saved it the wrong place. Now I have an image somewhere else in my hard drive. I don't know where it goes. So I'm going to print this. I don't need to crop it at all. So I'm going to have a printout that I can throw in my Trapper Keeper. And what I want to do now is sort of the rapid, and I think that this is kind of a fun exercise to go through, is the rapid determination what things are. And I think I might do, let's see if this works. I'm going to go get my printout when it's done printing, and then I'm going to bring it over here, and I'm going to write it on the thing. We're going to talk about it, and I'm going to write it on the sheet, and then I'm going to take a picture of it, and I'll show you the picture, and we'll see what that looks like. So I have the same map in front of me that you see on the screen. Podcast people, sorry. It is it's a map. And I think in the show notes, you'll be able to see the Notion notebook where I have this, I believe. So they're going to come down the big hole, which is a big skull that's reaching out, and that is going to drop into, I think, a pool of vile liquid. So I have a pool of vile liquid. There's a statue in this chamber. We can see it in that lower area there. So what's that statue of? And is it like a living statue? A grinning lion statue. I think there's lots of bodies down there too. Probably. So one kind of fun thing about this is that Drusilla came down here. So what did Drusilla use to stop the statue? But I think the statue will be a stone golem, a stone guardian. Where are the monsters? I think they fought one of these before. They're not terribly hard, but a leonine, like a lion-headed stone golem will be down here, and that's page 222. I'm going to add that to my monsters. So then we have that chamber off to the lower left from the water area. So we have the water area, we have a lower left. There seems to be some kind of like tapestry there. There could be like a tapestry of the forging of one of the weapons, right? So weapon forging tapestry. And what else is in this chamber? Like we could have a lost shrine to Marina. I think that might be kind of neat. Madeira, right? Lost shrine to Madeira. I want to have, so you definitely want to have NPCs in here. You definitely want, so here's a fun one. In the lower left, it looks like an entryway, and I think that's going to be a hole into the Shimmering Valley. So that actually, like, you go down and then you go off and there's a wall and there's this huge gap that throws you out there. So that's an entry point of sorts. So let's see. I think, what direction do we want to go next? I guess it doesn't really matter. What other, we could have other cursed creatures here. I don't know what other kind of critters would be down in this place. And again, the thing it's really easy to come up with like locations where monsters are. What's harder is where you can find creatures that people want to talk to. We could have a fallen priest of Madeira. Madeira, right? Fallen priest. So that there'll be a fallen priest lair in that little hovel right up here. Like, that's a little ruined cave, and that's where the fallen priest. And the fallen priest might kind of wander about. I'm gonna cheat and fill out some ones that I think will be really easy. So I think I've run this place before too, but not for this campaign. So I think that will be fine. So we'll have the discord. So we have 3 items that we know would be placed in this area: the discordant blade, the blazing javelin, the entropic armor. So the discordant blade will be in that lower left, and then so I can't decide. I think I want them to find the javelin, and I think the armor will be in that upper chamber, and that's what's that called? The entropic. So the chamber of entropic armor, and these are artifacts that are already gone. And then we have this great long chamber. And I think that's where the skull is going to go. And I think so this is the chamber of the blazing javelin. And there's a skull pedestal in there. So I've got those big chambers. And what's that? So there's a big chamber to the south. So this area, I don't know if you can see it on the map, but the lower left area is the chamber of the discordant blade. The uppermost area, which these all look like sort of like shrines, is the chamber of entropic armor, both of which are empty. And then that left long chamber is both the chamber of the blazing javelin and where the skull of Memnon is. And that way they put the skull of Memnon there, a wall opens up, and the blazing javelin is actually there. I think that can work. So then there is a chamber far to the south, and we could just say like artifacts of Memnon. Oh, well, we wanted to have the skin chamber because that's gruesome as hell. So I think we'll have the chamber of Madeira's. That's gruesome. We have a vault, the dead priest of Memnon. So that one is filled. Then, ooh, what about like a Sphere of Chaos? Chamber of the Sphere of Chaos. And that will be a chamber that if you go into it and you touch it, will shift your alignment to chaotic. You know, like your whole personality will change. But it also means you can use all this stuff that you pick up. We'll see if they do that. Historical tapestries. That is in that chamber in the left upper west from the northwest of the chamber of the vile liquids. Then we have this. So anyway, I'm avoiding. I think I've got. Oh, so there's a couple of chambers left I don't have filled out. So one of these would be Drusilla's lair. I think we'll put that in there because we know she needs one. And we need, let's see, there's an area here with a bunch of pillars in it. And it looks like some kind of thing on the wall. A frieze. So let's look back at the lore and just see if there's anything more from the lore that I could pick up. First manifestation of law. Every law of reality. First manifestation of chaos. So we get a frieze of the twins. So is there any chamber I don't have filled out? No, I think that's pretty good. So let me take a quick picture of it. Jack says, I always say that's not a dungeon until there's a skin chamber. All right, I've got an image here. Let's brighten that up and let's crop it. We will save to my files and I will show you what I've got. So this is my hand-drawn, well, hand-annotated map. I think hand-annotating map is better than like any of the digital tools I've seen. So I wrote right on the map what all the things are, and that is all pretty well set. So now I feel like I've got like a lot to work with for my game today. Like I didn't have any of this stuff when I started, and now I do. So I am going to put this in my locations. I'm going to make a new one. I have a new Vault of Memnon location, and I'm going to drop both the raw map and the fixed map. So I've got both of those in there. So what else do I need? I don't really need the fantastic locations because I have the map. So I'm not going to worry about that. NPCs. So we have, I think I said I have a fallen priest. So who would the fallen priest be? Let's go to the end here, and we have names by ancestry. So first thing, let's see. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'll roll a d20 and divide by 3. Is that right? I think that's right. So I rolled a 17. 17 divided by 3 is like 5, right? Because 6 would be 18. We'll do 6. So it's a human. All right. And then we'll roll and a 17. So Nura, fallen priest of Madeira. Cursed priest of Madeira, trapped here. So that's an NPC they could run into that is somebody they could actually talk to. They might want to cure her. How can they do that? So Nura knows about Drusilla's fall. So why is Nura cursed? What cursed her? Did she betray Madeira for Memnon or the other way around? And perhaps she could only be killed with the entropic blade. And she, can only be killed by the entropic blade and seeks it. So I think that's good for NPCs. We've got these Rakara, the elder of Nighthaven is there. And we have Mizzo, Goblin Scout leader. Monsters. So I want to make a quick random list. I think we're only going to do 6. So we could have, do they have animated statues in Shadowdark? So they have animated armors. So that would be one. I think that the entropic, so when we think about what the stuff does, the entropic armor lends itself to displacer beasts. Not displacer beasts. What are they called? Rust monsters. So I think it's time for some rust monsters. Animated armors, how many would there be? Probably 1d4 plus 1, 2 to 5. Rust monsters, would it be 2d3? That'd be between 2 and 6. Or d4 plus 2. So it's 3 to 6 rust monsters. That sounds good and dangerous. What other kinds of denizens would we expect to find down here in the... What about Rakshasa? I think the Rakshasa... No, I think we're going to have... Rakshasa would actually be really good for the other place, for Last Watch. Whites are always good. Can't go wrong with whites. Whites of Memnon. Undead priests. So how many whites would there be? Probably 2 to 4. So 1 plus 1d3 plus 1. I'm using weird dice rolls because I like to have a little bit more control over what the curve is like. So I don't do like 2d6 and you're like, oh, it's somewhere between 2 and 12. And like 12 whites would kind of be a pain in the ass. And how many whites would you typically see? Well, you're not going to see more than, you might see 5 whites. 4 whites seems more appropriate. So somewhere between 2 and 4, which is 1d3 plus 1, works pretty well. I think, is there a priest? There is a priest. So we could have undead priests, right? Or cursed priests. And they would be, how many of these would you find? Probably 2 to 4, right? Undead priests of Memnon. What other kind of would be lurking down in this place? A gorgon. Yeah, a gorgon would be pretty great. Like a lion gorgon, right? Going in for that leonine form. I think we'll try basilisk. That kind of fits the cursed theme. How many basilisks might you run into? I guess I'm big on the 1d3 plus 1. The gorgon to be alone. So that gives me a little random monster table. Treasure I already know, but it's like the artifacts of Memnon, the javelin of Memnon is one big piece of treasure. The other would be random bell scrolls. That was something I talked about last time. I'll roll them randomly. But I think that those will be in one of the vaults. So I think I've got everything I need. Like I think I've got, the map is a good one. I've got some cool monsters. I think I'm all set for my game today. So friends, I want to thank all of you for hanging out with me today while I prepared for my Sunday role-playing game. If you enjoyed this show and you want more stuff like this, the best thing you can do is subscribe to the Sly Flourish newsletter. It is absolutely free to sign up. You can find a link in the show notes. I ask that you do. It's really good. You're gonna get a really valuable newsletter sent to your inbox every week that has links to all of the other stuff I do, and you're gonna get a free adventure generator PDF. It's all absolutely free to sign up. It costs you nothing. You can also support me directly on Patreon. You get access to the awesome Lazy DM community over on the Discord server that we've got. You get to participate in the monthly Q&A. You get a whole bunch of exclusive tools, tips, tricks, PDFs, online tools to help you run your game. Lots and lots of stuff, lots of experiments that I'm running there that you get access to. And you help me support this show. So thank you for that. And you can pick up any of my books, including Return of the Lazy Dungeon Master, Forge of Foes, The Lazy DM's Companion, The Lazy DM's Workbook, and all of my other fantastic books available in the Sly Flourish bookstore. You can find a link to that in the show notes as well. Thank you all so much. Have a great day, and get out there and play a role-playing game.